everybody.
Hey.
Welcome. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're having a good day. We are back for the second Maui edition podcast.
Maui edition. I got my Aloha sweatshirt.
She got Aloha sweatshirt, and this is her favorite thing ever. You haven't taken it off since I bought it.
I haven't taken it off. I know Bob bought it for me. This is my Christmas present, and it was a good one.
You liked it?
I tend to do that. Do you do this? I don't think you do, but when I find something I love, I'm like, now this is all I wear forever. and then about 2 years later, I'm like, I guess I should maybe retire it, but I love it so much. I don't.
No, I do it. You know, I do it, but I don't know to the extreme that you do. But...
Yeah, but yours, I think, is just like a pair of sweatpants that nobody can really tell.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? And mine is like the Aloha sweatshirt. Everybody knows what it is.
It's not yeah. So
let's see. I've worn the striped sweatshirt. I bet anyone that watches the podcast has seen that one a lot. You know what you did it with that sweater? The shawl collar sweater that I got you. I got that
I wore that every day in the winter. It was perfect. You know?
I got it for you as a Christmas present. Mm-hmm. I mean, this was before Alden was born. You still have it.
But I don't
it still looks good.
But...
I know. I think I'm going to steal it and wear that. That's going to be my new thing. I'm going to start wearing that sweater.
So, that's the question of the day. Do you have something that you wear all the time? Or are you like a regular, like, I wore it once this month. I can't wear it till next month.
What's funny is that I really do love the change. I love coming up with new outfits. I don't like wearing the same outfits twice. Even if I'm like, man, that was a killer outfit. It's really hard for me to wear it twice because I would just rather use my creativity. But when it comes to being comfortable and at home, when I find something I like, I'm like, that's it.
Whereas
forever. That's it forever.
If you've watched any of the podcast recordings or anything else, you know that I have like 3 shirts. And I actually have more than 3 shirts.
You have more than 3 shirts. It's just that you only
here.
have 3 different shirts. And then you have like 5 or 6.
6 or 7 of this shirt.
Yeah.
And
so they're different shirts. They're clean.
They're clean. I promise. I promise. But you can't smell me anyway. It's a podcast, so it works great.
Smell you later.
So,
okay.
Anyway, so we are.
I can smell you. You smell really good. He smells really good, actually.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're in Maui, and one of the things that we have done since we've been here, a friend of ours a few months back asked us to be on his podcast, which is Brandon Turner. He has a podcast called the Better Life Podcast. And there's a lot of like mission and vision that we share between his podcast and ours. So his audience is not, I wouldn't say 100% Christian, but he's very overt about his beliefs and he's a strong believer. And the mission behind the whole Better Life thing is how do we help people maximize their earnings so that we can give tons away.
Yeah, I mean,
that resonates so much with us.
It's kind of like how our book is Simple Money, Rich Life. I feel like the Better Life and the Rich Life thing is kind of in alignment with each other, where it's not just saying how can you have the most and be the most self-absorbed and please yourself as much as you possibly
can. It's not chasing a better life. It's not chasing wealth. You know, it's doing what God has called you and equipped you to do, and then the byproduct of that is
a better life.
Yeah. Is more impact in the world. And that's kind of, So anyway, so we were here and shot that podcast with him a few days back. And I think it was a good episode. So check it out when it comes out. It'll probably be a month or two. We'll let you know about it. But anyway, he asked a couple questions on there that
that
had us thinking that I didn't have a full amount of time to kind of process through while we were live. But one question that he asked was, all right, what if you lost everything? And what would you do to kind of start over? Like knowing what you know now. And
we both went,
So anyway, so we gave an answer, but like I spent some more time thinking about it, and I think
my answer, he said, that's a great answer. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
That was one of those moments that I was like,
you should share that answer. Maybe we should lead with that. But
yeah.
But anyway, I had some more time to think about this and kind of break it down a little bit of what are the beliefs and mindsets, but also what are some of the practical steps we would take And so just like painting a really crystal clear picture of what this question is like, all right, Bob, what happens if you lost SeedTime, it disappeared, whatever, got hacked, stolen, and you can't get it back, which is our primary source of income. And then what if, and this is a terrible scenario that I pray does not happen.
I mean, this is like Job type scenario,
and then they,
right?
and they hacked all of our bank accounts and took everything, and we don't have anything.
We don't have anything.
No more money and no source of income.
Okay, do we have our assets? This is one thing I was thinking of.
I don't know. We'll say we have our house still. Okay. So we're painting this picture just to kind of create some sort of scenario of, all right, what we do in that situation. Because the more specific we get, I feel like the better answer we can give. And that's what I feel like on his show, we didn't get specific enough to be able to give a really great answer. So that's how I want to kind of break this down. So with all that question out of the way, let's get into how we would handle this.
Yeah.
Do you want to start with your answer?
Sure, I can start with my answer because I do think this is what we would do. And I think it's obviously just a process of it would be a long process, I think. But I think what we would ultimately do is figure out what can we learn from what just happened.
Yeah.
And how can we use what we've learned to help other people? I think that would be our big picture. How are we going to rebuild and move forward? Don't you think?
Yeah. No, and that's kind of been the story of SeedTime and really just my MO and how I do a lot of things. I like experimenting, figuring things out, how to do A, B, or C, or X, Y, or Z, or whatever, and then sharing it with you all. Like that's like what I love doing. And that's what almost all of our courses are. That's what our book is. Like everything is firsthand experience of we went through this thing, we learned this thing, we experienced this thing, and this is how we processed through it, and this is how we got the result, and this is all this different stuff.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's any different except that we aren't choosing to go down this path. I'm not choosing to lose it all. It just happened to us. And
and that's why I kind of think that's exactly what we would do, is because I think that's what would naturally come out.
Yeah.
Because we would think, man, this can really help people if we figure out how to harness it.
Yeah, because here's the interesting thing. We're going a little bit of tangent here, but there's so many people who run out and write a book on something, create a course on something, or whatever else on this topic because they want to do it and because that sounds fun or whatever, but they don't actually have the authority to teach on that thing because they haven't gone through the ropes. They haven't and this is, there's so many levels of this. Like I remember being in business school, taking some business classes from some professors who had never owned a business or run a business. All they had done is read a bunch of business books. And it's like the level of authority that is from someone who has run a business for 20 years and gone through the thing versus someone who has read a bunch of books about it is so different.
Yeah.
And I'm all for reading books. Like I learned so much from that, but the real change happens from I read this book, I learned this thing, or I took this course, I learned this thing, and then I did it.
And I applied it. Yeah.
That's where the authority comes from. And so,
well, and if you think about it, the Bible tells us to be doers of the word, not just hearers only. And this is why, is because you have absolutely no authority talking about whatever if you're not actually doing the word.
Yeah.
You can't talk to people about Jesus if you're not actually doing what the Bible says.
Yep.
And so this makes sense. It applies to everything else.
Yeah. So anyway, all to say, I think you're right on that. All right. So we'll call that point number one.
Point number one.
Point number two.
Well, and can I just go in a little bit more? And this is more mindset stuff, but I've done really hard things 2 different ways. One of them is kicking and screaming the whole way, and the other way, I was going to do this way and then the other way, but I can't do that. This second way is
why don't you tell them? Because you were flip them off?
Yeah, I'm sorry. If you couldn't see me, I put up my pointer finger as the one way, and I was going to put
she was going to put up her
my middle finger as the second way. Anyway, anyway. I've done it both ways where it's like kicking and screaming or leaning into the grace of God. And Bob's watched me do them both ways.
One of them works better than the other.
It was
one of them is more fun for everybody.
It was more fun for everybody, but actually it's one of those things. It was one of those seasons that I almost wish I could go back to. And it was probably the hardest season of my life, and Bob talks about it actually in the book. The rash that I got in pregnancy, when I was pregnant, and then the few weeks after. And I was so shocked at the grace of God that I had on my life, walking through what my caretakers, my medical professionals, my medical professional caretakers told me I should have been literally going crazy. Like, not like, oh yeah, I feel like I'm going crazy, but like actually hallucinating and a lot of other things like that.
Yeah.
Where they were like, I don't know how you made it through. And I look back at that time and it makes me cry thinking about the intimacy that I had with God in that time, where it was really one of the toughest seasons that I've ever been through. Physically challenging, not sleeping, and whatever. And I look at this exercise that same way.
Yeah.
Of like, I don't know what I would do. I hope that I would lean into it and out of desperation be so close with the Lord that I would just get so much good out of it that I would then be able to go help other people. Yeah, because if you go through it kicking and screaming, any hardship, you go through it kicking and screaming, you don't get the good out of it.
Yeah.
Or it's a lot harder to get the good out of it.
So what you're saying is basically the next point I was going to make is that situations like this, it's to our advantage to go through this not as a victim and not as all right, our business has been hacked, it's been taken away, or they drained our bank accounts or whatever. Like, it's so easy to flip into that mode of I'm a victim, but to view it as an opportunity, like exactly what you're talking about, because it is an opportunity.
It is.
For something,
Well, yeah, let's look at Jesus, the life of Jesus. He's going along, not super easy, but then all of a sudden he hits the point where they beat him and crucify him, right? Like,
some tough days there. There's some
challenges. That's like, it's just like over and over and over again, just the turmoil that he's going through, that he's walking through. And it says in the Bible, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. Yeah. And so he had in his mind, I know something good is going to come out of this. And we have that assurance too, because the Bible tells us that, oh my gosh, now I'm blanking on the thing, but.
Well, you can come back to that verse, but the verse that I was going to mention was James 1.
Which is?
In the NLT, and this is verse 1, 2, but James chapter 1, verse 2. So, dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider an opportunity for great joy.
There you go.
And then for that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. And I've just always been fascinated by that verse. And there's another one with, I guess it was John and Peter or something, who got beat or flogged or something. And it said they went away rejoicing for the opportunity to have been whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, what did they know that we don't know today?
Yeah.
That they went through that and literally got beat. And I'm thinking about me going down the street getting mugged and walking back, coming back smiling so big and being, "Hun, you're not gonna believe what just happened. I'm so excited. I just got mugged." But they were it literally said they were rejoicing. What? So anyway, point is they knew something that I think a lot of us don't know.
Well, and the scripture I was going to say that I can't believe I blanked on is that we know that all things, he will cause all things to work together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. Yeah. So the Bible is telling us that, and it's our job to believe it, right?
Yeah.
It's our job to work through our own feelings enough to believe that the Bible actually means what it says, that it will work out for our good.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So next on this list is I would approach this again with the attitude of, all right, how can I start over a better way? So one of the things, one of the obstacles, I don't know what the word is here, but our business SeedTime has been on a wild roller coaster ride of a journey, and I don't know, like 7-8 years ago, like we rebranded from Christian PF to SeedTime, and in that, like we just lost all of our Google traffic, and which was a primary source of traffic for us on our website for so long. It just all kind of disappeared, and we were trying to figure out how to get it back and all this stuff. And I remember like asking this question of like, because in my mind, I identified our business was the blog, and that was it. So seedtime.com at that point, that was our business. And so without that, we don't exist. And I remember like kind of wrestling and thinking through this, and God was like stretching how I thought about this. And like, well, what if that didn't exist? Does SeedTime still exist? Like, what is SeedTime? You know? And so even now, it's like, is it a podcast? Is it an Instagram channel? Is it our courses that we've created? Is it our book? Is it our website? You know, what makes SeedTime? What is it? And I'm saying this because, you know, in the YouTube channel, or like any number of different things that we've had our hands in and been involved in, but all of those different things require energy and time and maintenance and all these different things. And so there's different ones that we're doing better at any given point. So we're a little bit more involved in Instagram right now than we are on YouTube. And anyway, if I were starting over, I wouldn't start with all those things. I would start with one or two things. And by doing that and by narrowing our focus, we'd have a much better chance of building faster. And so it's kind of like when you live in a house for 50 years and you've accumulated so much stuff.
Yeah.
It's the same type of thing where then you're forced to go move into an apartment. It's like you just have to get rid of everything and really focus on the most important, most essential things. And so anyway, so I would try to view it as, excuse me, I would try to view it like that as well.
Yeah, just focus down.
Yeah.
Really focus in on the thing. And I mean, you've talked to other people about that a lot, I feel like, who are like, I have all these things that I'm interested in. And this is really a problem for you too, because you like Bob is the man of 1,000 hobbies. Like
I like a lot of things, yeah.
Likes a lot of different things. You're good at a lot of different things. And I think that's been the most challenging thing, is just because you like a lot of different things doesn't mean you can do it all. You might be able to expand to doing it all, but you need to start really small. Yeah. And then just slowly add things in.
Yeah. So I would just view that as a big opportunity. All right. Next on our list, we'll call this one number 4.
We'll call it number 4?
We'll call it point number 4. Yeah, because we've adapted them because you messed up my whole sheet here with what I had because you added your number first. But we'll do this one as number 4. Anyway, so we would pray for direction from God on what we're supposed to do now that we've lost it all and we're starting from scratch. But as I'm praying, I would not just sit. I would be taking steps. I would be trying things. And I think the main reason here is I see a lot of Christians who are waiting for a green light to come in front of them. And I believe in my walk with Jesus that God leads a lot more with red lights than green lights. And so what I mean by that is I think the best thing to do is to start taking steps, trying different things, moving in different directions, and wait for the Lord to shine a red light and say, no, this isn't it. You know, and I think about that, like that's how I parent my 4-year-old. It's like, go in the backyard and play. Like, I don't care. Like, go wherever you want. But if I see him, whatever, starting to climb the barbed wire fence or something, like, no, don't climb that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not giving them instructions on every single square inch of the backyard. Yes, you can go there. Yes, you can go there. Yes, you can go there. Yes,
right.
Like, I'm leaving it open-ended. Go in the backyard, anywhere in the backyard you want. But if I see you walking in a direction I don't want you to, or I think it's not safe or whatever, then I will give them a red light to not do it. And I feel like my walk with Jesus has been very much led like that. So that really resonates with me. And by contrast, we've seen people in our own lives who seem to be paralyzed and not moving forward because they won't try anything because they're waiting for God to, I don't know, Moses to come down from a mountain with a tablet and say, here's exactly what you should do. And I feel like God's wanting us to take steps, trusting that he's going to communicate if we're going in the wrong way, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And if we're submitting it to him, he will. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the only way through that is if you just bulldoze through it. And I mean, we've both done that enough times. And I think that's why people get scared, is you bulldoze through something. But the other thing is, just because there's opposition or just because there's things don't go as you had planned doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Yeah.
it might just mean that there's just,
It often
you
does.
just have to work through it. And that's the thing that I think you're really good at. This is one of the things that I struggle a little bit more with is just working through really difficult things.
It just comes with practice, you know?
Yeah. And I think I am, I've had to do this in motherhood. I think that's where my strongest, spot of that is, just because you literally have no choice. But man, when it comes to technology, I'm like, I give up.
We're almost 10 years into parenting, and I'm still like,
Oh,
why didn't anyone tell us how hard it is?
Oh my gosh.
Why didn't we know how hard it is? But
yeah,
it really is.
Yeah,
anyway.
It is. It's hard.
Any parents out there know what we're talking about?
They all know what we're talking about. They
anyway,
all know what we're talking
about.
All
right, let's get to point number 5. Okay, and we're starting to get some really practical here. But if you read our book, Simple Money Rich Life, in chapter 6, we go through an exercise where we walk you through creating a survival budget. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And this would absolutely be essential. This would be one of the first practical things that we would do. We have done this. We haven't lost everything before, but we've seen massive drops. We've watched, I got laid off,
Right.
So that was a reduction of our income by probably 60-something%. We've watched our income in the business in certain phases drop by 80-90%. It's just, we've seen some massive swings. And so this would be one of the first exercises. And if you're not familiar, the gist of it is, it's not a normal budget where you're trying to break things out, but it's what is the absolute bare minimum that we need to survive for a temporary amount of time. And it's really important that you have that frame in your mind of, this is for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, or whatever. Like, there has to be an end date on it. Otherwise, it gets really depressing really fast.
Right.
So the point is that, all right, so we are no longer eating out. We're not going out to eat. We're not calling Uber Eats.
We're going to sell one of our cars if we need to. Yeah.
We're cooking everything at home.
And it's going to be peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah. So the point is,
macaroni and cheese,
a short, limited time of
ramen.
And honestly, and the main reason we have this exercise in the book isn't so that you ever actually have to do it, but it's more informative. Because it was very powerful for me once I discovered on this survival. It's like, we can survive, at that point as a couple on like $2,500 a month or something like that.
Right.
Like, we can pay our rent, we can keep our lights on, we can have a car to get where we need to go or whatever. And it was that amount of money. And that is empowering when you're facing a challenge or where you realize, okay, that's all I have to do. And it's like, I can probably go over to Starbucks and get a job and be able to cover that if we need to or whatever. And so it's empowering because you begin seeing, okay, that's the minimum. And then, of course, we want to get above that. But what do I need to do to survive? You know what I mean? Because it eliminates the ambiguity of the fear of, I don't know if I'm going to have enough. And I don't know how it's all going to work out. Like, you just get concrete and crystal clear about what is this worst case scenario-ish, that we're going to go through.
Well, and I wrote this in the book, but I think it's worth repeating now, which is that if you're doing this right, it should bring relief, not panic.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's only to be like, okay, that's all we actually need. And we're not going to get kicked out of our apartment. Cause to me, that would be like the fear, is that I would get evicted.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, where the heck am I going to go now? And how are you going to find the money to go somewhere else? So to me, that was the thing in my head that was playing like, oh, okay, we only need this. And then we will not, get kicked out of our apartment at the time or house or whatever.
Yeah.
And that is super helpful.
Yeah.
Because even though you're like, I can't have, I might not be able to have all the things that I want. You can work through some of that if you have the security of knowing that you're not going to get, or this was for me, I should speak for myself. If I had the security of knowing that we weren't going to get kicked out, I felt like, okay, I can work through the hardship of not getting to go out to eat or, buy clothes or, whatever the thing is, or even just eat good food. If I'm just eating basic food and I'm sick of it, I can work through that as long as I feel like I'm secure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, and so we'd be asking some questions like some hard questions as well. Like, all right, is it time you need to go to get a job?
Right.
We would consider selling the house, especially again, going back to the specific scenario of us owning the house. We sell a car. We have 2 cars. We could buy with one.
And what else could we sell? I think we would look in our house and be like, what could we sell?
Yeah. No, and I wouldn't be, because people always ask me, like, well, should I take money out of my 401k? And it's like this is where a lot of financial experts, I think, get so stuck in the problem with a lot of financial experts is they view they're a hammer and they view everything as a nail. And so they view every decision as a financial decision. And that's just not, I don't think that's the right way to view life, is that everything is a financial decision.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like your kid, whatever, is having an emergency, you need to go to the ER. Like, that's not when
That's not a financial decision.
That's not when you do price shopping on ERs. Which one's going to be the cheapest? It's like, that's not.
You just get to the closest
like,
one.
You figure it out later. And again, I'm not saying that to be frivolous or I don't know.
Careless,
yeah. But more as a just kind of giving some balance to this. But anyway, point is, we'd be asking some of those tough questions. And 401k would be one of them. Like, if things got rough enough, it's like, yeah, I wouldn't be afraid to pull some out. And of course, that's not good for the long term. But again, if this is a short term thing, and I have confidence that we're going to be able to build back and build out of this, then I wouldn't be afraid to tap into the 401k a little bit if we needed to. All right.
Yeah.
Next on this list, multiple times a day, I would be reminding myself what God says about our financial situation. Okay. And so we did this at the beginning when we were a complete mess. We've done this many times over the years, but we would just consistently speak the word of God over our financial situation, pray what the Bible says about our financial situation. And if you don't have it, go to seedtime.com/prayer. And we have a free PDF with prayer starters and a bunch of financial verses that we have prayed for years and years and years. This is a great thing to have on your fridge to just, regardless of where you are, like, to move forward financially.
Well, and like, if you're married, like, will get you on the same page. Yeah. It will
Praying
really
together
unify you.
About your finances is so powerful.
Yeah. And I mean, you've got some statistic about the divorce rate among couples that pray together, which is just basically, it's super duper low. So if you really want your marriage to stay strong, this is a great thing to do. And I think it's just so unifying. Yeah. It's necessary.
Yep. So next one, just kind of getting really specific here, answering this a little bit. Like, in terms of building back our business, I think I would probably start on Instagram. And I've watched multiple people do this and just start sharing whatever I could to be of help and to value to whoever is listening. And then you slowly begin building an audience. And then from there, I would go deeper. I would create courses. Like, if we lost all of our courses, then start them over again. I would create courses and do that. And the other thing I would do is probably write short Kindle books. So that combination of things are kind of where I would go based on current opportunities and trends to do that. Yeah, and there's one book, I'll try to find this and put this in the description, that I would follow for actually writing the books. It's Write Useful Books. That's what it's called. I read this book and it's phenomenal. It's like, if I ever write a book again, I'm going to follow this as a formula. It's so good. It's called Write Useful Books. And the guy basically lays out a formula for how to write a book that
this is
does
a
great.
Book or a website?
It's a book.
Okay.
Where do you get it? Called Write Useful Books on Amazon, sure.
Okay. So it's a published book or like an ebook?
It's a book. It's on Amazon.
It's a book.
Yeah.
I just said, is it published or an ebook? And you said it's a book.
They're both published. Like, do you mean paperback?
Yeah. Like,
yes. It's either paperback, ebook, whatever. So anyway, it's just really, really good. If I were writing a book, that's what I would follow as my template.
Okay.
So anyway, that's specific in the weeds. Let's get to the last one here, which I don't even know what number we're on. Probably 7 or something. Let's say that.
Oh yeah, I would say 7.
And this would be, I would be doing everything I could to be trying to enjoy the ride, knowing that God is my provider and knowing that we're going to get through this. Knowing that when we look at our life over an 80-year, 100-year period, however long we live, that this is just going to be a little blip. It's going to be a little hill. It's not going to be the defining thing of our lives. Now, it might impact us in a significant way, but at the end of the day, like, we're not going to look at our lives and be like, I don't know, like, that was the thing. And it's possible. I just doubt it. That was the thing. Our entire life was ruined after that or whatever. Like, I just view it as,
you okay?
Yeah, we're just so much better when we view it as we're on a journey with God, he's going to see us through. He's promised he's going to see us through. It's a hiccup along the way rather than the huge mountain of thing that it feels like in this particular moment.
Yeah.
You
well,
know?
And I think it has the potential to change your life for the positive.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it's possible that it can change your life for the negative if you let it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what it is. It's like, how are you viewing this? Are you going to let it destroy you, or are you going to let it rebuild you?
Yeah, and part of how we do that is by attempting as best as possible to enjoy the ride through it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure.
And making the most of it, and still having fun, and still smiling with the kids, and you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So all that to say, I don't want to go through this situation, but that's our more elaborate answer to this question of what we would do if we were starting over right now and had lost everything.
Yeah. There you go.
Good. So anyway, hopefully you find this helpful. If you know anybody who is in any sort of situation where it's like they could use this, send this their way.
Yeah.
You know, and again, hopefully this is received in the spirit with which, we're intending it. It isn't to make light of anyone's situation. Be like,
right.
Oh, yeah, it's easy. Yeah, just smile the whole time. Like, that's not what we're saying.
No, but I think when you're outside of a situation, you can see how you would like to handle it.
Yeah.
And even like this is also just big picture. Like, obviously, if you're actually walking through the situation, there's a lot of other things that are happening in the midst of the big picture.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Like the daily, freakouts and the daily, how are we going to do this? What do we do? How do we make this decision? Type of thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's it. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this. Leave us a review on iTunes if you haven't already. It'd be an amazing Christmas gift to us. We would appreciate it. Or I guess you're probably hearing this after Christmas, unless you're on with us live right now. Thank you for being with us live. And we are recording these live every day, or Thursday at 1 p.m. Central.
Not every day, every Thursday.
Every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. So thank you to all hanging out with us now. And we'll see you guys in the next one. All right.
Bye. All right, we want to know if you've heard about our flagship class called True Financial Freedom.
Yeah, and if you haven't, it's more than just a money class. It's really about fulfilling your God-given purpose, breaking free from hidden money beliefs, and making a lasting impact.
Yeah, and we've gotten feedback from students, and they've said things like, it is the first class I've taken where at the end of each session, I felt equipped and not burdened.
Yeah, and it's less theory and more realistic action steps and guidance.
We've also heard it felt like a conversation with friends, which is awesome.
Yeah, and it encouraged me in ways I didn't think I would ever experience.
This class is on demand, and it's designed for churches and small groups as well as individuals. And you can get all the details at seedtime.com/TFF.